Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and we're doing a quick look for MotorStorm Apocalypse on the PlayStation 3. It was just released today in the States after numerous delays. It was delayed based on its content after the catastrophe in Japan, as well as there was some influence on the earthquakes in New Zealand as well. This game has had quite a history in delays, not for its own sake or its own fault in development, just world events. This game is this is the fourth game in the MotorStorm series, if you count the PlayStation 2 PSP game MotorStorm Arctic Edge. But this is the third game for the PlayStation 3 for MotorStorm. As I've mentioned in my review for Pacific Rift, I'll put that link in the bottom. MotorStorm was a highly unappreciated launch title. It was a pretty good game then. It was good. Very good proof of concept, and MotorStorm Pacific Rift was an excellent game. Excellent game. I can't recommend it enough, even with this game as it came out, because they're in a way their own games. As you can see here, we're starting off with this very cinematic kind of opening, and it's very interesting. I like the way this starts. I actually cut out a lot of the animated little cutscenes. Be honest with you, they're pretty terrible, but that's not what you play this game for. You play this game to race and try to survive. So right now, to get you up to speed, I'm supposed to follow that cart to the the festival. That's really what it boils down to. And this is a good little tutorial to get you started. Nothing difficult, and you see, well, yeah, things look pretty normal other than landing on the beach. And it introduces you to the way things have gone bad, as you can see right here, really quickly what started to happen to the city. And this is nothing. I'm telling you right now, this is nothing. It'll come in with some tutorial stuff right here and kind of explain some of the basics of driving. If you've never played MotorStorm is not meant to be realistic, and if you can't tell already, it's really not realistic from driving. It's not driving sim, is what I'm saying. It's an arcade racer, and I've kind of decided, especially after playing this for, looking at my watch now, let's say 6 hours? Yeah, 6 hours straight. MotorStorm is the predecessor, or it's the spiritual successor, rather, of Jet Moto. Jet Moto was a racing series on the PlayStation 1, and I've kind of decided there's some similarities. Obviously, it's not the same racing type. It's not futuristic bike racer, but there's something about it. There's something crazy about it that I get the feeling from Jet Moto. Also, by the way, all these little crashes right here, just to let you know, it's not the way this rest of the video is going to go. I was just getting used to this car. In comparison, so far to MotorStorm Pacific Rift, it's a lot faster. Everything is faster. All the cars are faster. All the controls are tighter. If you played Pacific Rift, you might remember its controls. If you played the first game, it's light years ahead of the first game. But when you compare it to Pacific Rift, it's even tighter than that. It's a much more focused racing experience, and the physics engine isn't as chaotic, other than what you just saw right there. That can happen from time to time. Chaos in itself, it really does happen, and if you're good with foresight, if you're good at kind of predicting where things might happen, or if you have quick reaction time, then you can do well in this game. If you are a klutz and not very good at racing games in general, this may not be the game for you. As you can see here, we're coming up to the festival where everything's getting started. I'm not going to spoil any of the story. There's not much of it, but when you buy the game, and I suggest you do, even though I haven't reviewed it yet, there's some story to it. So this is actually the first race in the game right here. We're near this dune buggy. They don't ever say what city this is, but it's pretty obvious to me and pretty much everyone else that the city is supposed to be mostly based off of San Francisco. And you'll see that right now. If you've ever been to San Francisco, you'd recognize the general architecture of both the buildings as well as the way the street layout, and it's just obvious. This is not New York City right here. The Dune Buggy is definitely a medium range vehicle. It's kind of, I think personally, this race is to show that they're not going to give you the optimum vehicle all the time for the event that you're racing in, and that's something to take in consideration, just to make it challenging. This race would do best with one of the race cars, one of the sport bikes, something like that. Your car, or the car I'm driving right now, is better for dirt terrain, that sort of thing. And believe me, there's plenty of dirt terrain. This is not all city driving. I think that might be a misconception based on trailers, possibly, but there's plenty of dirt driving, there's plenty of off-roading, and all those sorts of things. These starting races do give you a bit of a taste of what you're going to be expecting in the rest of the game, but I will tell you, these are the very, very easy races. The first, let's say the first 5. We're only going to show the first 3 here. But they give you a good idea of what's going on, and that guy right there got really lucky. I did not. Well, I guess you can say I did. MotorStorm Apocalypse, as far as what you're seeing here in video, I don't think I've seen any video, even my video. No video really can showcase how good this game looks. Especially when things are really chaotic. Like right now, things are pretty stable, pretty calm. I'm just racing around the track, and sure, there's some fire hydrants going off, and there's some dust and particle effects. But really, this is tame. This is not. Don't expect everything to be this calm and collective when you're driving through these courses. It gets to be extremely chaotic, and I think that's really, that's the fun of this game. If you don't like the chaos, if you don't like the destruction, if you're a serious sim racer, that race car type where everything has to be, you want the bleeding edge and everything to be precise and realistic, I'd say look elsewhere. Even for people who are motocross and off-road enthusiasts, expect a lot of the physics to, I don't know how to put it. If you haven't played it, it's hard to put in words. But the physics, it comes down to 75% skill, 25% luck. In the other games, it was almost 50% luck. But since the controls have been streamlined and a lot tighter, there's still a lot of luck involved. And that also varies per course, because some of the other courses, I don't even know how to tell you. It's just like, whoa, I don't know how I made it through that. So the first race is pretty good. The second race, though, the actual second race that's going to come up now is, I think, really is the first one where you're like, okay, I get where this is going. I understand what this game is about. Also, I really like this car. During the story mode, which I'm playing right now, it'll cycle through cars, so you can't select the car per event. Not in the story mode here. There's story context in a way to it. Very light story context, but basically comes down to the story mode, for the most part, is a big tutorial for the multiplayer. Later on, you'll get to play as different characters in the story, and then things become more of a challenge basis. But as things are right now, it's basically here to introduce you to the basic, most of the vehicles, and the tracks, and understanding how these things handle for the most part, and also getting you used to the fact that shit's gonna go bad fast. Right now, this track is pretty good. Nothing's going on. Like, oh, what's going on? You're supposed to hit triangles and events, and sometimes you miss them. Most of the time, it's easy to know when they're coming. I think I've predicted most of them, to be honest with you. If not, they stay there usually longer than that, unless you wreck. If you wreck, you'll miss it. Now this bridge is looking pretty bad right now. I wouldn't want to drive my car on this stuff, but this is still nothing. Still nothing. Usually what will happen is during the laps you'll progress. As you're progressing, things will really start to go to hell. Right now things are just like, oh, well, this is a track. Even if this track was like this, it's a pretty good track regardless. But once you get into it, sometimes, well, most of the time, let's say most of the time, by the time lap 2, lap 3 comes around, that's where things are really going bad. And you can hear the alarm going off, or the horn that, like the World War II horn, and things are starting to shake a bit and get a little chaotic. That hurt. Be advised that there's no way to avoid crashing I don't think I've been through one race yet where I did not crash to where I had to reset my car. And as you can see here, after that lighthouse fell, things are starting to get crazy. You can see the cracks going through the wall. Ah, there we go. Now, let me tell you something. I'm watching this on video as I'm recording this. That still doesn't look as good as it did when I was racing it, especially when you're in the moment and you're racing just like this right here. Oh, my God. This I don't even know how to tell you. When you're racing this and that happens and you're not expecting it, especially, or you are, but you're anticipating something to happen, but you just don't know when, and it just happens. Those so far have been the best moments. And it's a racer, so I mean, you got the thrill of the racing. You're trying to keep first place. You're trying not to die and crash and burn. You want to keep your placement, but you're dealing with the environment, and that's the whole point of this game. And it's deal with the environment as it comes. It's not static for the most part, and I guarantee you, pretty much every track after the first one will morph in some sort of way, which will make you rethink. So it's very, very rare that you'll have a track where you can repeat the same loop line that you did the first time, because there'll be some kind of obstacle like this right here. That was in the way. Good thing I remembered that, otherwise I probably would have hit it. And it requires you to try to memorize some of the stuff as it happens. Now, I haven't gone back and raced some of these, but they're apparently, according to some of the development videos I watched, there's supposed to be tracks that morph differently. So it might morph one way. I don't know how I crashed there, by the way. And then it'll be a little different the next time. Another big thing about MotorStorm is multiple branching paths. By the way, if you haven't seen that, if you haven't noticed that so far, then I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have a lot of trouble with this game. Some paths are better for some vehicles. It's not as clear cut as the original games. Pacific Rift and MotorStorm even more so. Just by looking at the terrain, you could tell what type of vehicle you should select for an event. Like mud, you would select a heavier vehicle. For lighter terrain, you would select like a motocross bike, and that sort of thing. Pacific Rift required you to go against these conventions, and they had challenge modes that required you to take, like say, a semi versus a bunch of motocross bikes and try to win that in an environment where they have the advantage. There was some of that. That is not the case here, and if it is, it's not exploited, which is fine, because most of the time you're too busy just trying to find a path where it's not blocked or you're going to fall to your doom and that sort of thing. So that it's not an issue. As you can see there, people can throw fire bombs at you, which will heat your engine for the boosting part. If you're unfamiliar with the series, boosting will overheat your engine, and when you overheat, you'll blow up, and that's not good. So you just let go of the boost and it'll cool down. If you run into water, you'll cool down, which was something that happened in Pacific Rift that was innovated there. So there's a lot of those conventions did cross over without an issue. This race right here is where it starts getting a bit hectic. You can see where you start driving in these enclosed environments, and there's a lot of areas where you could just easily ruin your day if you don't have good foresight, if you don't predict the way things are going to go. And a lot of these tracks that I'm racing on right now, there are multiple versions of them. Later on, they're either much more affected by the things that are going on in the city, or in some moments there are previous versions of the track that haven't been affected, and you're driving through them as they're being affected to the track you're seeing now. They call them prologue, and that happens a little later in the story mode. So there are a lot of variety to these areas. You'll see most of these areas at least once more in a different version, or during a different time of day, or in a different condition for the most part, and that's fine, because it helps keep you still have an idea of where a lot of the bases are. This right here, I thought I had lost it right there, and there's some of those moments. And you gotta expect that, and it's not the end of the world. I think I have to stress that as well. If you hit a barrier like that, it shouldn't be automatic reason for you to want to restart. That's just, you're doing yourself a disservice. Just race through it, because you can still make it. The AI drivers are just as likely to mess up as you are. Trust me on that. It does happen. I should mention this is the last race we're going to take a look at here in this quick look. Don't want to show you too many races, because then you might not want to buy it. There was a demo. It was yanked after the Japanese earthquakes, and I'm pretty sure they'll put it back up. If not, there is a MotorStorm Pacific Rift demo, which if you haven't ever played a MotorStorm game, that would be a good place to start. And if you don't want to pay the full price for this game, Pacific Rift is an excellent game. I would suggest both, to be honest with you, because like I said, they're two different games. They handle very similarly. And they're in different sorts of tracks. I wouldn't expect the jungle tracks to be a DLC pack for this game. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, worth your time. Worth your time, worth your money, and if you own a PlayStation 3, you owe it to yourself to check this game out. So this was MotorStorm Apocalypse. I'm going to end this with the intro movie, which these games are famous for having their intro movies. This one reminds me of a Quentin Tarantino movie or something like that, but there you have it. So please subscribe, let us know what you think, and please buy the game. Full review coming soon. Thank you.